Hey everybody, welcome to Take Heart today. The different gospel writers each have a different way of introducing us to the person of Jesus. And their opening chapters are kind of the equivalent to if you're introducing someone to someone they've never met before, you might do that with a few interesting details about them, right? So if I was introducing you to Mike, I would say, oh, this is my friend Mike. He likes Greek food. He likes growing vines. You'll know that if you've watched some Take Hearts. He likes wearing very loud shirts. He likes insulting me publicly. Those are a few of his favourite hobbies. Well, when Mark introduces us to the person of Jesus, I love the way that he does it. I never noticed this before until I started to compare the Gospels. But Mark doesn't actually have a story of Jesus' birth in the Gospel. So there's no shepherds, there's no wise men that turn up. Jesus just arrives as a 30-year-old man. And it's kind of, for me, it's kind of like this big explosion of ministry just takes off in the first chapter. He's battling Satan in the wilderness. Then he returns from that victorious and he begins to heal people. He's working in a place called Capernaum, and the whole town gather around the place that he's staying, bringing the sick to him. He's casting demons out of people. The miracles that he's doing are not small things, they're impossible things. A few years ago, this advertising campaign came out for Adidas. And I remember being really struck by it. It was all these athletes doing just crazy stuff. They were scoring goals from the wrong end of the pitch. They were running the 100 meters in the rain. And they did it incredibly well. And then what happened is it came up with this black background. And the 3 white stripes of Adidas came up. And it just said Adidas. And then the phrase, impossible is nothing. And I remember seeing it and thinking, I must buy myself some of this Adidas. And I did. And I found that I was just as slow in Adidas trainers as I was in all my other trainers. I found that when I wore an Adidas t-shirt when I was playing football, I did score goals, but generally in my own goal. It didn't really help me. What I discovered is that with Adidas, impossible is still in fact impossible. But if there is somebody of whom that phrase could be applied truthfully, it is Jesus Christ. For him, impossible is nothing. And that might sound twee, that might sound cliched, but it wouldn't have felt like that if you were one of the people that met him in the first chapter of Mark. If you were someone who has leprosy, a condition that there was no known cure for, and you thought this is the rest of my life now, and suddenly he made you clean. If you were someone who had wrestled with demons your life and suddenly you found that you were free of that. If you were someone with some other condition that meant your entire future was already mapped out for you and it was going to be a bad one. And then Jesus walked in through the door and suddenly you found that for him, what was impossible for you, for him was possible. This is the Jesus that we follow and it's the Jesus that we know today. For him, impossible is nothing. And so the question that I would ask you today, as I'm asking myself, is what is your impossible? Have you brought it to him? When we can't, he can. Over the years, I've found myself doubting at times God's willingness to move, his willingness to do the impossible. So what can happen as a result of that is that I don't bring impossible things to him. I just assume he's not going to do anything. I assume he's not gonna move, so I don't bring it. And I remember coming across this little phrase some time ago that said, the great tragedy is not prayer that is unanswered, but prayer that is unoffered. It's when we don't even bring it to him. My little boy, one of them, Caleb, he has a genetic disorder. And when he was diagnosed with a really serious heart condition when he was 20 weeks in the womb, and that was a big impossible for us. We prayed for healing, and the healing didn't come in the way that we hoped it might. But we've kept praying over the years. He's 2 now, and the things that we've seen have been miracles in their own way. We've seen him just have the most incredible medical care, get access to the very best doctors in the whole of Europe. We've seen him have kind of things be made available to him that are incredibly rare. but just happened to come up at the right point. We've bumped into all sorts of God's people. You know, we found ourselves in hospitals in various places where if there's 6 nurses on the ward and one of them's a Christian, the one that's a Christian somehow gets assigned to us. And we're still praying. There's other things that we've got on our hit list of impossibles that we want God to do for us, and we're lifting them to him. And I would say, as someone who has been walking with Jesus now for about 15 years, I have seen him do things in my life that I never thought would happen. I've felt myself come alive in ways that I could never have made it happen. And he's done that. He hasn't always done it in an instant. This isn't a McDonald's drive-through, even though they're now officially open in our country. It's not that, but he is the God of the impossible, and he can break chains. What is your impossible? Bring it to him. He is strong, and he is mighty, and he is willing to help us.